Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Let's take a look here at SUI, see what's going on. Down about 5% on the day, pretty much similar to Bitcoin price action. Bitcoin's down 5% too. So a lot of the stronger coins like Solana, SUI, and by the looks of it, HBAR and a few others that I plan to cover, still they're responding pretty well this sell-off. In other words, not knee-jerk reaction down, not dropping off a cliff. They're holding at support. So just keep in mind this 0.618 fib level, 480, 45, that is that rough estimate of support for us. Not just because it's a fib level, you got to keep this in mind, but mainly because it's a previous resistance level. We got these little ranges here. Secondary to this, by the way, 470 also as potential areas of support. So just know that that's kind of where we're at there. Also note too that when you have a bearish type of pattern like this is basically a rising wedge. The probability of the price pulling back is higher, but it's not the reason to take a trade, right? So as I mentioned yesterday, even though SUI should pull back and it's expected to retrace to its local high, basically its all-time high at 495, while we're below that, I'm super happy that I didn't recommend a short position because it would have been a higher risk trade, right? That's kind of the bottom line. So again, for those of you who shorted, congratulations on that. You kind of got lucky though, mainly because it wasn't anticipated that Bitcoin was going to drop and lose 100,000. It was supposed to bounce, and we would have and should have held this $5 range nicely. Now that we're below it, we got to presume and respect the fact that it may be a new resistance level for us, and the price may actually continue a bit lower before it recovers. Again, there's a lot of caveats there. Just kind of throwing it out there, kind of letting you know, generally speaking, don't trade patterns solely, and don't only trade Fibonacci retracement either. Use everything in combination with one another, and you'll find higher success rate. So that's all I'm trying to get across there. There's never any, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, or whatever however you want to word that. It's definitely not about that. It's about just best practice and always doing what should be the right thing when you're trading, and never trading against the grain. Okay, SUI is still very bullish in the overall sense. The macro is bullish, short term is not, and we got to respect the fact that we may see a little bit further correction before the price recovers. But you got to recognize too, SUI is one of the few coins in the market that recovers fast and quick. So you can miss opportunities frequently with this coin. So you do kind of got to get in early sometimes. So it's all the more reason to use low leverage, low position size. Just kind of make sure that you're being responsible with your trading, okay? Try not to trust those other folks that are posting high leverage trade results when the trade is still open. That looks so stupid. I personally don't love it, but again, I'm always kind of more of a straightforward and have an honest approach about things. I think it's kind of misleading to show people your premature results, but also to show how great you are when you take a high risk trade. That doesn't prove much at all. It just shows that you're probably not very trustworthy. Again, different conversations for different scenarios. Obviously, everything's different. But anyways, let me look at the charts here. Right, last 7 days on the left hand side, we can see 470 is that lower liquidation level. Part of that is previous, part of it's local. In other words, a lot of folks setting longs here at at the 480 range, and they have their stop loss and or liquidation event just below the price action. These are high leverage longs. Typically, those get swept. So I wouldn't be surprised we see a quick wick down to 470. Market makers do their thing. Price recovers from there. So oftentimes it's good to set limit orders in those ranges. I'm not talking about a high leverage limit order either. I'm talking about a spot bag primarily, or a super low leverage trade. Okay. You can always add to your leverage as the price recovers too. Keep that in mind. So that's all kind of where we're at here on the last 7 days. Majority of downside is taken care of, but we may see 460, 470 as the last ditch effort there. Really just depends on how Bitcoin's performing. Keep in mind, a lot more shorts to be swept to the upside, so I wouldn't be surprised we see a run to $5.50, $6 at some point. But for right now, I don't expect it soon. We see liquidation delta is higher for shorts. Basically, more people are taking shorts than they are taking longs. While I don't approve of taking shorts with this coin, it makes sense to be more short biased because the simple fact that we're under a lot of resistance here. Look at these points of control, this open interest, 530. So as I was talking about previously, don't be a late long at 527. I said that for the last 3 days straight, and it's not a good idea. Okay, regardless of the simple fact that the price could break out, being a breakout trader, this is proof right here that it's never beneficial to do so. Again, I didn't recommend to take a long or a short, so I guess you could say that was potentially not a great call, but I'd much rather recommend people don't take a high risk trade and miss out on a good opportunity than to take a bad opportunity and to feel sorry for it, right? Again, I got a lot of traders underneath me. I like to make sure we do the responsible thing. And for right now, waiting for the bottom to be in is probably one of the better, more responsible things. But we're going to talk about potential, bouncing here and just what the overall scenario kind of looks like here, because it's not all doom and gloom from a macro perspective. If you take a look here, you can kind of see we're above all moving averages. We do have a pretty significant fair value gap as low as 450. I'm rounding down or up a little bit there, but we can see that 0.382 fib level. If that occurs, then we would probably see a bounce off there. So this is a pretty strong support range here. Let's see here, probably a little easier to see if I do this. This little guy right here is proven to be a resistance previously and now likely a support. Anyways, I don't think we should worry about that too much. I think more short term here, we can see daily candlestick closures at about the 470 mark. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, I mean, distinctly 4 days right there where the price could not pass this level of 478. So basically 480. So we can presume that 480, which is where the price wicked down to here today, is a tentative support level for us. Once again, secondary to that, 470 based on liquidation. Okay. So good news is, even though we have a fair value gap below us and that may get filled, there's a distinct probability we're going to see a lot of support in the price bounce in this area, mainly because we have some macro support ranges. We're also well above 50 on the RSI. This is much better than most coins in the market. Stochastic is swinging down, of course. That's very much par for the course. MACD as well, soon to diverge. So I don't think we should be, too presumptuous and saying that we should take a bunch of shorts right now. I think this coin is inherently the riskiest coin in the market to short, just based on how strong of a reversal it typically gives us when it finds its bottom. And again, a lot of that hinges on Bitcoin finding its bottom too, right, folks? Because again, if Bitcoin continues to pull back, I think SUI will too, because it's A, overextended, and B, most coins are responding poorly to Bitcoin pulling back. But on the same accord, we want to be very careful and respectful. I'm going to remove this here for now. We're going to focus on this being kind of the primary support, about low 470s. We have some confluence there with not only with liquidation, as you can see here, we got this 470 pocket, but we also can see local highs here as that area of resistance, which should be a new support level for us. It's common for local highs like this, for example, to be retested as a new low before the price continues higher. It's not a guarantee it's going to go higher. It just implies if we see that range, we'll see more buying pressure because people feel like it's a good value based on that being a previous resistance and that whole shift in mentality and just how that kind of works. If you've ever looked into the psychology of trading, it's important to recognize that at all times, bulls and bears are trying to fight each other and they're consistently changing their mindset. The longer you stay in a range, the more likely it is to become either a support or resistance, depending on the direction. I'm paraphrasing a lot, but if you want to jump into my Discord here, I have an education section, and there's a recommendation I have there for a book that works very, very well, or worked very well for me. I've read it multiple times. It's an audio book, and it just really gives you a good perspective on how market makers manipulate the market. Anyways, having said that, let's move on. We're under 50 on the RSI. Every single coin is doing the same thing. It's showing the same thing. I mean, you can go to even the strongest coins right now. It's every single one of them are under 50 on the RSI. That generally implies bearish divergence and that you shouldn't necessarily be taking a long, at least with high leverage or even medium leverage. If you're going to take a long with SUI, I don't fault you for it because this is a good support range, 480 to 470. But the truth is, if you use high leverage in this scenario, it's just kind of it's not really a good recommendation because candle wicks are so aggressive right now. You'll get stopped out with a liquidation event and you'll be out 100% of whatever you put in. And that's not fun. Okay, I haven't been liquidated in years, neither has our community, mainly because we always have a stop loss halfway towards our liquidation event. And on top of that, our liquidation is so low that it gives us more range of motion just in case you need to hold on to the trade a little longer. And you can kind of sustain those dips or those ebbs and flows. So again, folks, if you're going to do anything for yourself, lower the leverage and maybe offset with a slightly higher amount per trade. I don't recommend that per se, but if you're going to insist on it, I'd rather you have a larger position size and lower leverage than the other way around. Just because liquidation sucks and it's what exchanges make their most money on. And I don't like to feed the monster, right? You shouldn't either. Either way, everything here is bearish. We have a second stochastic swing to the upside, kind of, on the 4-hour, but still not great. The key takeaway here is that we got, again, confluence here at 470 with the 50-day SMA. and that this little fair value gap here, I would say along at 470, 475, right in that range, seems practical at this moment. Again, this moment, it can change a lot between now and whenever it is you're watching or whenever it is you're looking at the chart. So please understand that. Again, everything that I talk here in or communicate in this videos is just to make sure to get you some good information so you can effectively make sound decisions. And to clarify too, SUI is a coin I do not recommend shorting ever, just to kind of speak to that. And you know, I want to say congrats too, because some folks are like, oh, some of your trades haven't hit their profit targets recently. While that's true, we secured monster profit here, almost 60% on an SUI long over the weekend. So we caught this nice little pump, this little push, and I wouldn't expect the price to pump anytime soon, just based on the simple fact that majority of the market is just bleeding out. Okay, we got to wait for things to stabilize and then consider an entry. So to me, 470 seems much better and more practical than 480 at this point. Once more, fib levels are just hypothetical areas of retracement, and they are not an exact science, okay? Do not trust anyone else who is saying that we got an Elliott wave, you know, wave 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D, all that crap. It's beneficial, sure, but it should be used in combination with other things here. At this point, you know, even if we're to anticipate the price to go up, the overall short-term trend right now is going down, and we got to respect that, okay? Having said that, there's nothing here on the hourly telling us that we're going to see a reversal soon. So in situations like this, the best thing to rely on is key level supports and overextension. When we take a look at overextension, we can recognize we're at an 8 on TD sequential. So we've been moving 8 hours in the same direction. Typically, we see some kind of relief after about 9 or 10 hours. You can see the same thing occurred here previously when we pulled back. We hit a 9 on TD sequential, 4 or 5 hours later, the price started to recover. It only dumped because Bitcoin pulled back really hard at that point. So if Bitcoin goes sideways, there's a strong chance that SUI will recover over the next 5 to 6 hours. Again, a lot of different scenarios here in play, but do not just blindly take a long because we're at a 0.618 golden pocket. It's not ideal. I think the local high will speak well for us. 470 plus liquidation. This is where my money's at. I would say a long at 470 makes a tremendous amount more sense. And if you do end up taking a long, again, low leverage, make your profit targets tighter than usual. You should secure profits before our previous all-time high at 495, okay? And you might be rolling your eyes too, thinking, oh wait, that's only a 3% move. What are you talking about, Cash? What's the point of that? Well, the truth is, if you try to hold to the moon, you might get lucky once in a while, but you'll most of the time be in profit and have to close out the trade early. It sucks, okay? Or you get stopped out and liquidated. That's even worse, right? Avoid that altogether. Okay, I've done enough rambling here. I apologize. I go in circles sometimes. Some of you know this, and it's only for your best interest because I get a little passionate about the ridiculousness in the market, and I think crypto has a lot of room for improvement, more specifically with those who are in positions like mine that keep recommending terrible trades. I'm not one to talk. I mean, we're in the red on our longs from yesterday, but they were super low leverage and they were safer trades. And I don't have any issues right now holding those positions because we're not really too concerned with getting liquidated or stopped out, okay? Again, make sure you control the trades that you're in. Use your risk tolerance. Use what works best for you. Mine is a lot different than yours, okay? Adjust to that. All right, folks, that's all I got. Thanks again so much for listening, if you did. And if you fast forward to the end, shame on you. You should be trying to learn how to be a better trader. There's no shortcuts in this industry. I hope you have a good rest of your day. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.